everybody. Happy Sunday. Happy Memorial Day weekend. I'm just going to kind of be panning around the room while I talk here. There's only been a couple changes. Oh, I did put Melanie up here with my Joy Frog. Look how sweet. And then, oh, I moved my little Marita baby down there. And then, oh, Princess Adelaide is trying to get up there to get Raggedy Ann. Can y'all see her? She is standing there trying to play with Raggedy Ann. And Sophia Grace is now, the kit of Sophia Grace is now laying by herself in this Moses basket because I moved, I believe this is Evangeline over here. Look how beautiful she is. She is such a beautiful kit, Evangeline. Her little belly sticking out there. Anyway, Lucy Ray says, "Hi, Mommy." We have these little boys say, "Hi, Mommy." Hi, Mommy. Hi, Mommy. Actually, my next video will be Ethan's box packing, which I will be doing tomorrow. He will be heading home. Won't you, little Ethan? Huh, little man. And let's go have Princess say, "Hi, Mommy." I'll see if I can get in there and get her face. Hi, Mommy. Anyway, this video is going to be titled something along the lines of the future of Kymberlee's Cocoon or something like that. I don't know how many of you have noticed I've been a little MIA, kind of all over social media. I did spend a little bit of time yesterday on Instagram scrolling through, liking some photos. I'm way behind over there. I'm way behind here. My last couple videos on here were, one was a kit review and then the next one was some Happy Mail. I kind of took a little bit of a break, and here is why. For those of you who've been watching me, you may have seen several videos back. I showed the nodule on my right thumb. You can still see it there, and then there's a little one there. This is looking pretty much almost like what I showed y'all before, which is fabulous. So, it actually started getting worse, and I thought it was those nodules that you can get from arthritis. They each have different names depending on which joint they're on. And it actually, there were 2 nights in a row that it was throbbing so much it woke me up. And I'm somebody who pretty much can sleep through just about anything. Oh, let me fix Atticus's head. I don't like the position of his head. Look this way, little man. There we go. So anyway, it got increasingly worse. And about a month ago, I was doing some stuff and helping, I don't know if I shared this in the other video. I was helping my husband move some stuff, and then we were moving a mattress, and he was pulling, I was pushing, and I felt this shooting pain go from my thumb up to my elbow. And I thought, oh, I wonder if this is like a sign of carpal tunnel. I wasn't sure. And then later that same afternoon, I was rinsing some kale in some cold water, and I felt like 2 in my thumb, 2 like jolts, which basically was nerve pain. But it actually, I whited out and got nauseous when it happened. So I immediately called the doctor. I thought, okay, this is time to get this looked at. So I called the doctor, and I called my general practitioner just to see if I should see them or if I should see a specialist. And she said that, well, my general doctor couldn't get me in for a month, but she said, actually, I think you should see the hand specialist over at the other office. So she transferred me over there, and I was able to make an appointment, which I had that appointment not last Thursday, but the Thursday before. And my mind, it takes me on lots of journeys, I'll be honest. And for me, the way my hand was feeling, I could barely bend my thumb. What you can see now of this bump was probably about 2/3 bigger than what it is right now, or maybe even 3/4 bigger. It got really big. I couldn't really bend because of this big lump here. And I stopped painting. I went a couple weeks without, I had a baby ready to root. I didn't root. I stopped painting. It just made sense to me to like stop because I had a feeling the repetition was part of the problem. And so because from the day I made the appointment till when I actually was seeing the doctor was probably about 2.5, maybe 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, I had to start coming to terms with I might not be able to paint anymore. And it is something I love to do. I want to keep doing, but I'm also a realist. And, you know, I'm not super young, but I certainly feel like I have a lot of years left on this earth. And I don't want to do something for the next few years so that the remaining years of my life, my hands would be pretty much useless or in a lot of pain. And so mentally I was going down that path of, okay, if I'm going to stop reborning, which I'm not, so I don't want to scare anybody. I'll get to that in a minute. But if I'm going to stop reborning, what does that mean for me? Do I sell my kits? Do I reach out to the people that their name are on kit lists and offer the first person, if they want to buy the kit, to, you know, send to another artist, whatever. I was going down all these, you know, making plans in my head. And of course, praying for myself. I had other people praying for me. Thank you to those of you who noticed my absence and reached out to me. I actually, if you noticed, my last 2 videos, my right hand was not in either video, and that was on purpose because I was wearing a wrist guard, like a brace that isolated my thumb and kept me from bending it. And I'm just not the kind of person who puts stuff out looking for, is everything okay? It's just not my personality. I don't like to victimize myself. So I'm on today to explain the journey so you'll understand what I'm about to tell you about my business. So I went to the doctor and he looked at it and he said, I think it's a cyst, which right away I'm like, oh, in my head, I'm thinking I've had cysts before. I've had them on my hands, I've had them on my feet, because like I said, I've had arthritis for many years. So I actually have some essential oils mixed up for ganglion cysts. So I said, is it a ganglion cyst? He's like, I won't know fully till I take some x-rays. So I went and had my hand x-rayed. And then, you know, he went and read them and he came back and he said, you sure do have some arthritis in that hand. I'm like, yes, I know. And anyway, so what it is I have several tiny bone spurs on my thumb, and then above them was this cyst, which turned out it was a mucus cyst. And by the time I went and saw the doctor, it had greatly reduced in size. And when he came in and we started talking, I said, you're probably going to think this looks like nothing but, and I told him what it looked like and how it had woke me 2 nights in throbbing pain. And it actually got to the point where sometimes it was hot and it would take on a reddish color. Anyway, so he explained to me that by me taking a break was allowing it to go down. And he said use will make it swell up, and resting it will, and not using it repetitiously will keep it from growing. So I explained to him what I do, because I actually, in this little bend, it's hard to do holding the camera, you can kind of see that there's one starting in the bend there. And he found it odd, the positioning, but once I explained rooting hair to him, he then, oh, that makes sense. And he said, well, you can loosen up your grip. And I'll be honest, after like a week of not being creative, I decided to start rooting. But I was only rooting in like 10, 15-minute increments. And I'm somebody from the time I was little, I've always held things tightly, like my crayons and pencils. I've always had a tight grip on things. So consequently, when I hold the hair, I hold it very firmly. You see, I press. You see how my thumb, yeah. And then when I hold my rooting tool, the same thing, even when I pounce with sponges. So even before seeing the doctor, once I would get the hair in my left hand and the rooting tool in my right hand, before I would start rooting, I was like, you know, making sure I would relax my grip, like purposefully letting my hands come to a very relaxed state, and then I would start rooting. And I would root in these little tiny increments and get up and go do other things for several hours, come back, do about 10 minutes. And I'm somebody who I need lines to stop. So normally when I map out a hair, it's like in rows, but within those rows, I created a grid so that I had a stopping point. I don't know if that makes sense, but I couldn't like just stop mid-row and be like, okay, my 15 minutes is up, I'll come back. My brain needs that visual of the stopping point. So anyway, so he did say that I can continue doing what I do, but I have to pull back and not do as much. So basically, if you've been with me for a while, if you remember back when I was having problems with my hands in Texas, I came up with the whole paint in the morning, root or crochet in the afternoon, because I have found rooting and crocheting in tandem allows my hands to somehow not feel as much pain as when I just root, and pace myself that way. But there was only so much I could do in terms of rooting. Like I used to sit for many, many hours and root. I was no longer doing that. I'll root for a few hours, and I'll admit there's been a couple times where I've gone longer than I should have because I just get into that zone. And but I do pay for that. So but what I was doing before going to the doctor is I was doing paraffin on my hands. I was putting different essential oils and wearing that wrist guard and doing things to help it. And that really, really helped. So I took the things I was using. I had this hot freeze salve that I was putting on it. So I took that with me and my wrist guard, and I showed him. He's like, yep, keep doing that, because I was wearing that when I rooted. And so anyway, so he said I was doing the right things. But the only way to keep it from being aggravated or never being a problem is to stop. But if I want to continue, I need to pace myself. And then he did say to me, you can take some arthritis medication. I'm like, well, like what? And he said, well, Aleve or Advil. And I've never taken either, so I did on my way home that day stop and pick up some Aleve. It had a nice arthritis-friendly cap. That's why I chose that one. I haven't taken any yet. He said, don't take it every day. Just like that night your hand was throbbing, that's when you would want to take it, just to help you. And then he said the next thing he could offer me would be cortisone injections, which I'm not super excited about doing that. And then the final thing would be surgery, but that's always the last resort. So then I did ask him, do I have carpal tunnel? Because I explained about the pain. He said, no. He said, you don't have any. He asked me several questions to see if I had symptoms of carpal tunnel, which I don't. And he said, it's just that it's so, there's not a lot of give. There's not a lot of skin give here. He said, because that's on your joint, he goes, it's all so swollen, it's so tight in there. He goes, given the right circumstances, which I'm saying to you in quotes because to me it's not right, but given the right circumstances, like for example, when I was pushing that mattress, it pressed just so that either one of the bone spurs or the cyst pressed on a nerve, and so that's why you're getting the nerve pain. So anyway, there have been a couple other personal things going on in life that I'm not going to share because they involve more than myself, just family stuff. Everything is fine now, but the past, probably 6 weeks have been a bit hectic around here. Everything's fine. But with all of that going on, I had gone on this mental journey of, okay, this is what I'm going to do if I can't paint any longer. And so now that I had this information from the doctor, I can't just immediately now be like, oh, great, I can paint. I had to now go on a mental journey of, okay, I can paint, but how am I going to do that? Because having parameters on my painting does not bring me joy. Like, I really get into this mental zone when I'm painting. I get lost in the art, and that is one of the beauties of being a creative person. And so I have, today is the very first day I have painted in 4.5 weeks. And I told myself how many layers I could do, because first of all, I just said, just try it out. And if pouncing hurts, you're going to have to wait. But I told myself how many layers I was going to do before I made my video. And so now I'm making my video. And then I have a load of dryer that just stopped. So I'm going to go fold some clothes. I'm going to do some things before I go back and paint. I'm just going to have to intersperse it and not set aside entire days to paint, and I'm going to have to get used to that. It's going to have to become my new normal if I'm going to continue creating. So it's just been a mental journey for me, and consequently I have been very absent from social media. I have not watched very many videos. I've watched a handful here and there, It's just because I just had to go on this personal journey with my art. And so that's where I've been, and I will continue painting. But so what does that mean for Kymberlee's Cocoon as a business? And what it means is it's going to take me longer to finish babies. And I do appreciate one of the babies I'm working on right now does have a list, and the first person I reached out to her now, it's been a couple months now, because I think I worked on that baby for a good 3 to 4 weeks before I had to stop. And I did inform her that I'm having some physical issues, that I was going to be seeing a doctor, and she's been so kind and patient. Thank you so much. You know who you are. But so I'm going to actually put this video in my playlist of my business of Kymberlee's Cocoon, so that if at some point I reach out to you and say, I'm about to start on the kit, you're first on the list, do you want works in progress? Because that's usually what I say. And if you do, and if you notice that there's a lull and you might question how come it's taking you so long, I will send you to this video, because I have to listen to my body. And there may be times where I could be mid-baby, like I just was with the one I'm working on right now, and I had to stop and just let my hand heal. I so very much want to continue creating babies. It brings me so much joy. It brings me so much joy that my babies bring so much joy to people. And so this is the only way I'm going to be able to do it. So I had to get, like I said, I had to get my brain wrapped around all of this and allow myself to go on several journeys, one of which was thankfully avoided, where I have to stop painting. And then now I had to go on this journey over the past, week and a half or so since seeing the doctor, with where do I go from here? How do I be creative but with parameters? And so it has taken me a while to absorb it. I'm actually not 100% there, I'll be honest. But I feel like by starting painting, which I did today, it's just, I sat in that chair and just thought, oh, this feels so wonderful. So I am back to creating, and let's see, what else can I update you on? Oh, quickly, I did get my second Louise kit. If y'all watched my kit review of Louise, I had mentioned I ordered one from McPherson's, which was the one in that review, and then I also ordered one from Irresistibles because I kind of wanted to see how things played out. Louise was available beginning May 1st. McPherson's, I had paid him in full. He shipped May 1st. He arrived May 3rd. Irresistibles did not have where I could pay in full, so I paid the pre-order amount, and I received my final invoice on the 21st, and he shipped on the 22nd, and he arrived on the 25th, and his number was in the 500s, and my one from McPherson's was under 100. So I don't know if that's the norm. I might do it another time or two in the future just to kind of see if that's how things work. I do know that Irresistibles had gone to the doll show in Valencia, and so I was giving them that grace for the timing. I know they're just a husband and wife team, so I had a feeling that was part of why invoices went out late, and so I don't know if this is a fair assessment is my point. So, but he did arrive. So, what else? We've had some wicked weather here. I don't know if any of you else who live in the Midwest have been experiencing house-shaking thunderstorms, but we sure have here. There's been a lot of flooding nearby, but not. We're high up enough above the river, but people that are lower down have had some flooding. Neighboring towns have been really flooded. There have been tornadoes going through the Midwest, and it's just been quite the spring, but overall it's been good. Also, in my absence, y'all remember we had the 2 groundhogs that had been rehomed that I named Fred and Wilma, and then there was the one that burrowed over the winter under the porch that I had named Barney. Well, we got him captured, and he turned out to be a girl, and I had noticed a few days prior to this gentleman setting up the the live trap, that Barney, I'll still say Barney because I thought it was Barney, was taking like dry bedding material from the bushes under there. And so when he came to set up the trap, I said, when you capture this animal, please check under the deck and make sure there are no babies, because I've noticed this, taking bedding under there. And so he was really kind. It took a day. The first day the trap sat there. The next day, it was so amazing, because I don't want the animal to be in the cage for a long time. And so I had been checking and checking and checking and checking. And that particular morning, I went to come downstairs to do something. I think I was swapping loads of laundry. And I looked out the window and the trap was empty. And I came upstairs and now Barney was in the cage. So I immediately called him, and it was actually the day of my doctor's appointment, so I had to leave. And we ended up talking on the phone, and so he actually took boards up on the deck. He found 2 nests under there. There were no babies. He said, I dug them all up, took out all the bedding, dug this, really deep in. There were no babies. So our landlords have since come by and boarded up, dug a trench basically around the deck and created a wall. So now we get to see them out in the garden nibbling and hopping and running around and scampering and stuff, but they won't be under there. And we are tenants. We rent this house, and that was one of the things, was if there were things burrowing, to let them know. And so I am a rule follower, and so as much as I love seeing the critters and stuff, I understand they can cause damage. They're digging and burrowing. They can, hit wires and pipes and all kinds of stuff. And so I want to be a respectful tenant and let them know when things like that happen. So now Barney was Betty, and Betty has been taken to a forest. He told me where he takes them and lets them go. And I did say, in the event there were babies, what would have happened? And he said, if he would have found babies, he has a place that he would have taken the mom and the babies together, and they would have lived there till the babies were big enough to live in the wild, and then they would have released them all together. And he said, in the event you hadn't thought to have me look, and I would have released the mom in the wild, and you suddenly heard squeaking or something, or whatever noises, and you would have called me and I would have got them, I would have taken them to the same place. It was like a sanctuary until they were big enough to go in the wild. But none of those scenarios, it was just her by herself. So anyway, and I never saw her with another groundhog. Like that other was clearly a couple. So anyway, so that's the update on my groundhogs. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So again, thank you everybody for your patience with me. I'm going to try to get back into the swing of things, both with reborning and social media. It's just going to take me a little bit. Like I said, there's been a lot going on. And congratulations to anybody who's had new babies. I have missed a lot, I will be honest. And it is just what it is. Life has to take priority. So anyway, ladies, have a very, very blessed rest of your weekend. And thank you for listening and stopping by today, and for your continued support. And remember each and every day to find at least one thing to be joyful about. In all of this, I have not lost my joy, ladies. I still remain my joyful self, and I always know that God will bring the best out of every situation, because He always has and He always will. So, all right, ladies, be blessed, and remember to find at least one thing to be joyful for. Thank you again. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.